For nearly $1 billion of taxpayer money, the Queensland Fire Ant Eradication Program is supposed to be stopping one of the most invasive pests in the country. Yet, instead of eliminating fire ants, it seems to be contributing to their spread. The program's approach is raising questions about whether it's truly about eradication or whether it's just a poorly run, money-draining exercise that benefits a few at the top. Over the years, millions, no, billions of dollars have been pumped into this program, aimed at protecting Queensland's land from the destructive fire ants. But here's the problem. The program isn't even targeting the areas where fire ants are actively nesting. Instead, resources are spent spraying toxic chemicals in areas where fire ants don't even exist, all while the infestation spreads rapidly beyond the supposed eradication zone. How does this make sense? How can we be spending so much money to spray in areas that don't need it when the real problem is being ignored? The spread of fire ants past the lines of the eradication zone is proof that the program isn't working, and yet the cycle continues. No one is addressing the real nests, and the situation is only getting worse. At this point, it's hard to ignore the uncomfortable truth. The Fire Ant Eradication Program doesn't seem interested in actually solving the problem. Instead of focusing on eliminating the fire ants where they live, it's more concerned with maintaining its existence and continuing to consume taxpayer dollars. But why? Who signed off on this program? And why, when the results speak for themselves, is it still in place? Some might argue that it's simply inefficiency at work, but when so much is at stake, we have to ask whether there are other, less innocent reasons behind the program's persistence. It's easy to point to the people employed within the program, many of whom, according to locals, have shown a troubling disregard for residents' concerns. These workers are often described as dismissive, even bullying, and there is little accountability for how money is being spent. It's hard not to imagine that the people at the top are profiting from a failed program, while taxpayers are left footing the bill. And with friends and family members of those in charge often securing positions, it seems like an unfortunate case of cronyism at play. The real impact on local communities. For the residents who live in areas under the eradication zone, the situation is even worse. Communities are being harmed by the use of toxic chemicals sprayed on their land, which, as we've seen, doesn't even target fire ant nests.
You had more, didn't you, you said?
Yeah, on the bottom of the hill, I had 7, all of them gone.
And you realised this shortly after the fire ant eradication team.
When they start dying, I didn't know what's happened when they are dying, but after I clicked it, we had the spraying from the fire ants. Maybe this had something to do with it.
Well, we lost beehives too, and we're only just meters down the road.
These are the same residents who are being told that the eradication program is working, despite the clear evidence that it isn't. Local farmers, landowners, and homeowners are watching helplessly as their property is damaged by unnecessary spraying. People who rely on their land for a living and whose families have lived in these areas for generations are being ignored in favor of a program that's not making any progress.
Very destructive community right now, and I'm going to stand here and I'm telling you right now, you're not coming onto our property. Got it?
Yeah.
You're not coming onto our property. No way.
And when you try to voice concerns, you're met with the cold indifference of the so-called experts running the show. It's clear the current fire ant eradication program must be shut down. The billions of taxpayer dollars should be redirected into a program that actually works, one that targets the fire ants where they live and focuses on killing the nests, not just spraying indiscriminately in places where fire ants aren't present. For this to happen, there needs to be complete transparency and a new approach to solving this issue. All current employees of the eradication program must be excluded from any future efforts, as their track record shows they've caused more harm than good. New leadership, people with a real understanding of the problem, must take over, and the focus must shift from perpetuating a failing program to actually dealing with the fire ants where they're causing harm. It's time to face the facts. The Queensland Fire Ant Eradication Program isn't working. The billions of dollars spent and the lives affected by this flawed program demand change. We need action that actually eliminates fire ants, not just a program that continues to take money without delivering results. The government owes it to taxpayers and to the communities impacted by fire ants to end the current eradication efforts and invest in a real solution. The clock is ticking and the fire ants aren't going away. It's time for a change.